and welcome to another Auto Talk podcast or video, depending on how you are watching this. Please don't forget to push the buttons down the bottom somewhere there to like and subscribe to these so that we can bring you more great content. And also don't forget that this is a story. It's the cover story in the November issue of Auto Talk magazine. That's website autotalk.com.au. Now, our guest today, I'm going to bring her into the room, is Olga Rudenko, the Chief Executive of CARS24. Thank you for joining us, Olga.
Glad to be here, Richard.
Now, before we get too far into what we're doing and talking about CARS24, you're, I wouldn't say new to the industry, but you've come from a bit of an interesting location for someone who is now leading a fairly sizable business in the automotive trade, and that's from Uber Eats. So that's quite the jump.
Yeah, I was wondering which location you would mean, my country of origin or my last job. Uber Eats, I think, couldn't be more relevant to what we're actually trying to do here for the car industry.
Mm-hmm. Is your management team from the tech side of the ledger, or are there people there from the automotive trade, or is it like a whole fresh new look?
No, look, it's actually an amazing culture that we've created out of 150 employees. I would say the split is probably 50-50. Half of them are coming from the industry and half of them are completely new. And that's, the beauty. You get the merger of the old with the new, and hopefully you make something better.
So for those who know about CARS24, can you just give me the kind of 1 minute quick summary of what CARS24 is and a little bit of its background?
Sure. Well, CARS24 is an Indian-based company that launched in Australia officially only in September, so we are very, very new. What we are is a fully online car buying platform. So as a customer, you can, in the comfort of your home, buy a car completely online, pay for it online. We arrange your financing. You get that 2-minute pre-approval fully online, and then the car gets delivered to your doorstep. You have 7 days to either fall in love with it and keep it and make it yours, or at zero cost to you, we will take it back if it doesn't work. We have very few returns because the cars all go through an extensive check. We have a 300-point check, and we also give a 6 months warranty to all of our customers. Which it tells you just how important quality of the experience for us. Really, our mission here in Australia is to transform how Australians buy cars and, to get rid of that buying a lemon fear once and for all.
Now, it must have been an interesting time to launch a new business. September, a lot of COVID issues in New South Wales and Victoria. But arguably, I would suggest that kind of plays into your business model.
Yeah, I think, we've seen that with Uber Eats as well. You asked me where I come from. The moment things become a bit more constrained, people open up to buying things online. I've recently moved into the country, and I didn't think I'd be buying so much furniture online without, having a feel for it. But this is the beauty of the e-commerce model. There's always an ability to reverse the decision. And this is no different. If you feel like you've made a mistake, you just give us a call and the car is going to be back. I think it's taking people a little bit of time to figure out how that works with cars. But once they understand the process and our value proposition, it's really a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. Where do you source your cars from? And do you guys have refurbishment teams? How are they prepared to go out?
Yeah, we have a sourcing team and we have a refurbishment team. Our sourcing team buys cars primarily from wholesale channels, Richard, so auctions, other dealers. We're starting slowly to get cars from consumers. We have quite a high ratio of people wanting to trade their cars back in. So we, of course, take them. And our refurbishment team is also fully ours. So all the cars that we touch are inspected by our own people, refurbished by our own people to the standards, the high standard that we have.
Mm-hmm. And you've got that service, those refurbishment teams around the country as you expand? I understand you're looking at going into South Australia at the moment. You're about to launch in South Australia.
Yeah, so we have our big refurbishment facilities are in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. And South Australia is where we have a base for delivery. So it's a customer operation in South Australia, so people can get their car delivered, registered, and enjoy our service.
Mhm. Can you tell me about the new service in South Australia? I mean, is that part of broader expansion? I mean, when's West Australia and Tasmania on the list?
Yeah, good questions. Obviously, we have an ambition to be everywhere eventually. It's careful consideration of when we go where. South Australia seems like a very natural market for us to expand to. It's not really that far away from Victoria, so it's easy to expand our network just a little bit down the coast or to the west. When we're starting to talk about things like places like Tasmania and WA, I think we just need to do a little bit more prep before we venture into those markets. But yes, our ambition is to be national eventually.
Mhm. Do you think the service will always remain used car only? I mean, is the potential there that you could look at shifting into the new? I have seen some brands now start to dabble in online ordering for new vehicles. Is that something you'd
Mm.
consider in the long run?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Richard. I essentially think that, our customer is slightly different. When you think about our customer, it's the customer that's not necessarily super focused on a specific brand. They just want a decent car. They want a car that drives. They want a car that looks nice, and they don't really want to pay premiums for new cars. Obviously, this is our segment is becoming very, very attractive because all of our cars are near new. Most of our cars fall, within the 5 year age brackets and under 100,000 kilometers. So the new car buyers are actually going to our model a lot more because of the shortages in the industry. So we're seeing that trend for sure. Will we go into the new cars? Not really in the near future. We really feel that we are adding a lot of value to the customers by letting them buy within the price bracket of a used car. So it's a value for money essentially play is where we see our sweet spot.
Mhm. You mentioned earlier that you are starting to source. Can you explain how the trade-in process works? Because I mean, that must be a little more difficult to assess the vehicle and assess perhaps condition, refurbishment costs, and price a car that you aren't necessarily physically seeing.
Yeah, well, I think the consumer buying, or whether it's a trade-in or a consumer buying experience, this is where I think the industry needs to change as well and to be a lot more consumer-centric. I think what happens now, Richard, is there is a lot of mistrust from the car buyers, the professional car buyers to the consumers, and by default, we all assume that the customer is gonna lie about the condition of the car and they're going to sell you back the lemon. So there is this mutual mistrust. The company that's trying to buy the car doesn't trust the customer to sell them a good car, and the customer doesn't trust the company to price the car well. So we're trying to break this mistrust circle, and the only way to do it is to make the first step. So we actually put the customer first in that process, and we give them an offer online that we don't change. So there is no famous price adjustments. I remember selling my car before I launched this business as a bit of an experiment when I was quoted, I think, $16,000, and through the negotiation, quote unquote, ended up in the $12,000 range for no good reason, and this is unfortunately the reality of the consumer experience, and that's terrible, and that's what makes the reputation of the industry so terrible. We believe we can offer a really good competitive price to customers without adjusting it in the process. They're really just very simple hard calls. Your car has to be roadworthy, it has to drive, and you can't lie to us about the fundamental things, like a missing door or whatever. If there's a scratch here and there, who cares? That's all part of the process. So I think it's not just building trust and putting consumer first in the car selling journey, but it's also the car buying that we're trying to achieve, and Tradein is part of that and an illustration of that.
You said some pretty tough words there about the reputation of the traditional trade. I mean, have you had any blowback from traditional operators in regards to your comments or position on perhaps the current form of the automotive industry?
No, I think actually it's amazing, Richard. What I feel like, whether it's COVID or it's us entering or a combination or just the time, we've seen some amazing shifts in the industry. There's a lot of dealers that are going digital and actually doing what we're doing and trying to put the customer first. And I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing the shifts that we're starting to see. I think it's always going to be difficult for smaller individual dealerships to play this game, because it's a very capital intensive game, and to have a national model and have national presence, it's harder. But I think some of the local dealerships are doing exceptional job moving their experience online and actually putting customers first. So I think it's just that revolution has already started, and we really hope to accelerate it.
Mm-hmm. How does and you touched on it slightly, how does the finance and insurance offering work on these sales? I guess being online makes it fairly easy to automate it to a pretty high degree.
Yeah, I think that's and again, a few people are making the steps. I think we're so far first fully online experience, where you can get from step zero, choosing your car, paying a deposit on the car, and getting your finance pre-approval. So the way our process works is a simple, 10 questions, around 10 questions that we ask, give us an indication how likely you are to get the loan, and you actually get a number of options to choose from. We don't work exclusively with any lender. We work with a broker partner that generates basically the best options for the customer. And we are about to launch our interest rate match promise, which is if the customer finds the interest rate better anywhere else, we will match it. So it's fully online experience, and it's also a very competitive offering that we believe we can offer to the customer.
Now,
one of the interesting features of this is
as we mentioned earlier, the 7-day return policy. I mean, have you had many returned? I mean, has that actually been a function that people have been utilizing?
Yeah, very few. And people think, oh wow, you start offering returns, every second car gets returned. It's a sub 5% number, which it's actually very small if you think about the players like Carvana in the US, who have sold over 1 million cars. Their return rate is sitting in a couple of percentages. I think the value proposition here sells itself if you explain really well to a customer what the car is on the website, which is where the rich product experience comes in, and photography, and articulating the details of the car in the right way, and also disclosing all the visual imperfections. We actually have a section on the page that discloses all the imperfections. So the customer knows exactly what they're getting. They've already thought about which car they want. They just really want the confidence that they've made the right call and they're not buying a lemon. So when the car arrives, we pride ourselves on, high quality standard. You have a happy customer who knows exactly what they're buying. So there's really no reason for them to return the car. And, this is the reason why we have such a high NPS score, the Net Promoter Score, which basically tells you how likely you are to recommend. We're sitting at 85, I think 88%, 88 score was the last one I checked. So that means 9 out of 10 people give us the highest possible rating of recommending us to a friend, which is something I think we're very proud of.
Excellent, excellent. Well, look, it's certainly an interesting way of, or an interesting approach to the automotive industry. It'd be good to watch how the system rolls out in Australia and beyond. For joining us, that's CARS24 Chief Executive Olga Rudenko.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for the opportunity.